Two bros chilling in a hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay. You'll get that reference later on in this vlog. Today we are reviewing the X-Files episodes Duane Barry and Ascension. Two of my very favorite mythology episodes. They're pretty fucking awesome. Cheers to you. I am back on my day drinking. I'm drinking a icy, frosty cold Pepsi Cola with a shot of Jack Daniel's Fireball Whiskey. Cheers to you. I hope you're having a lovely new year, 2023. Here we go. So, Duane Barry and Ascension, got very fond memories of watching these two episodes. It's two of those episodes I've watched so many times, I can pretty much recite them word for word. It's a lot like the episode Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose or Pusher. Like, I've just watched these episodes so many times. And there's a reason for that. They're really, really good. It is a treasure trove of character development. Not just for Mulder and Scully, but for some other much beloved characters in the fandom, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I'm wearing my AC/DC for those about to rock. We salute you shirt, which I got for Christmas from my mom. Mwah, love you, Mom. My mom's the best mom in the world. We'll talk about another great mom in a minute, which doesn't make me cry like a baby at all. So, start off with Duane Barry. This is the beginning of what is known in the fandom as the abduction arc. And this is where Scully gets abducted by aliens, by the government. Who the fuck knows? The show never tells us one way or the other. Anyway, and it also starts off this series' very sick obsession with torturing Dana Scully. I think after this arc, Scully never gets a break. Or if she gets a few moments of joy, they're just brutally ripped away from her just a few moments later. We'll talk about that at length, too. So, the episode begins with a house. It's kind of in construction back in 1985. Hey, I was 1 year old. And, the house is dark. We see someone's perspective, like, moving along the floor. Is that, like, a baby alien? Like, scoping out the place? We don't know. We see a dog. Is this the same dog from Ice? Kind of a border collie looking breed. It may be. Who knows? But I'll tell you one thing. The dog very much upholds the time-honored X-Files trope of dogs not giving two shits about their masters. Because we learn this pooch is the dog of a one Duane Barry. And we see Mr. Barry, played famously by Steve Railsback, asleep in his bed. He's watching a movie. I believe it's called A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. It is a adaptation of a Mark Twain book. I think that's the movie that's playing on his television. And then suddenly, oh no, sleep paralysis. And we see the sleep paralysis aliens hovering about his bed. Let's talk about these aliens. First of all, they're scary as shit. And they're also adorable simultaneously. I don't think this was intentional. The X-Files is really good at putting on the most hilarious shit unintentionally. Especially a certain writer named Mr. Chris Carter. And I'll give you 3 guesses who wrote this episode. It was him. Someone said on Twitter, and I had heard this before, that little girls had dressed up like the aliens because back then, I mean, this was 1994. This was all like, the majority of it was practical effects. Hey, do you want to come up here? Kitty, 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 kitty. Hi. My cat is literally too sleepy, ow, to jump in my lap. You don't have to scratch me, okay? When you jump in my lap, you don't have to scratch me. Just for further notice. Thank you. So, and then you see Duane Barry. He says, "Oh no, it's happening again." And the next shot you see is his house. There's a gigantic UFO over it, and his dog is just standing out there, half-heartedly barking at the at the intruders. Very much reminds me of the dog in Humbug, Cumdor. He was like, you know what? The so long and thanks for all the kibble. He's like, I'm out. Bye. I don't know what was going on with the X-Files writers and dogs, but the X-Files dogs on the X-Files don't care much about their masters, you know. So then there's title sequence, and you see a psychiatric clinic hospital, and you see Duane Barry. He's being led to a psychiatrist's office. The psychiatrist is named Hacky, and he is he goes in there, and Hacky's talking to him, whatever, and Duane Barry tells him, he says, "I'm not crazy, Doc. Duane Barry is not like these other guys, like in the hospital." It's very reminiscent of when Mulder tells Scully in the first episode of The X-Files, and throughout the series, he's like, "I'm not crazy, Scully," when absolutely he's a maniac. So a lot of parallels are drawn between Mulder and Duane Barry in this episode, and throughout the series, drawing parallels between Mulder and other extremely unstable characters. I'm thinking about Robert Patrick Modell. That's the one that comes to mind. That's interesting. So, seeing where, and this argument was made on Twitter. I do these recap threads before I record and post my YouTube reviews, and people can comment whatever on it. And one person said, you know, it's amazing to see just how close Mulder got to being like Duane Barry. I would take that a step further and say he very much ended up like Duane Barry, in an orange prison jumpsuit, and then on the run. Like, if Scully had not taken him on the run in the last episode of season 9, he would have very much ended up like Duane Barry. He would have been institutionalized or dead. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, this is where Mulder was headed. There's no doubt about it. That's super interesting. And Mulder keeps telling people, you know, I'm not crazy, but then this is where he ends up. That's pretty interesting parallel. So, in another time-honored X-Files trope, the person in charge turns their back on this not stable person, and they get away. Like, what the fuck, man? Really? This happens in Unruhe, Small Potatoes. Does no one know about, like, protocol in this universe? Duane Barry dips. He goes up to a guard. He steals his pistol, and he takes the psychiatrist hostage. So then, oh boy, I'm just gonna say the most celebrated scene in the fandom is this one. So if you are a fan of the X-Files, you probably know what I'm about to talk about. We gotta talk about the Speedo. So we see Alex Krycek, who at this point is Mulder's partner. And he is coming into like this natatorium, like a pool. And he sees Mulder swimming, and I gotta say, Mulder swimming gives off like heavy Stella Gibson vibes, like Stella Gibson, those scenes of her swimming, it gives off those vibes. Stella Gibson and Fox Mulder are alike in a lot of ways, and I'm sure I'll have a vlog at some point where I talk about that. So he So, a lot of people talk about Mulder's Speedo that he's wearing in this scene. What a lot of people don't talk about, and that I want to talk about, is Krycek's reaction to the Speedo. So, Krycek does a lot of things in the series, and especially in this episode, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's because the writing is very shitty throughout the series, and especially in the Myth Arc episodes. And they do not give us enough context as to why Krycek is doing these things. Now, I just want to state, I love Alex Krycek, okay? He is definitely one of my favorite characters. He is a phenomenal villain. And he would have been one of the best villains of all time if the show had leaned into him, if the show had tapped into the potential he had. He's chaos incarnate. You never know what he's going to do. He's constantly switching sides. He's constantly pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, not just Mulder and Scully, but Smoking Man and the Syndicate. And he's fun. Alex Krycek is fun. He's one of those villains I love to, like, watch and say, oh, what is this motherfucker gonna do now? You know, like, these are all the things Smoking Man is not. Smoking Man is not interesting, and he's not sympathetic, even though the series keeps trying to push this on the audience. They're like, oh, the Smoking Man, we're gonna make him sympathetic. And he just turns out to be a big fucking creep. Another thing I want to point out is, out of all the male characters on the X-Files, I think Krycek is one of the least problematic characters. Like, Mulder, extremely problematic. Even Mr. Skinner, as much as I love Mr. Skinner, problematic guy. And then, of course, the Smoking Man's the biggest creep to ever creep. But Alex Krycek, on the whole, not a problematic person. Like, it very much reminds me of the SNL clip with Jason Sudeikis, and he's playing Satan, and he says, I'm the Prince of Darkness, I'm not a monster. That is very much Alex Krycek. Like, he's like, I know I'm a terrible person, but God damn it, I draw the line at sexual assault. We don't, the series does not take the time to expound upon why Alex Krycek is doing these things. And on one hand, that makes him cryptic and interesting, but you want to know why he's doing this. Now, I know that I have heard that earlier on in the series, after the crusty old white biddies in the Syndicate got toasted, and Krycek and Marita Covarrubias, we'll talk more about Marita Covarrubias in another vlog. I love her. They pushed Smoking Man down a flight of stairs. Spoilers. That the writers wanted them to form, like, this new syndicate. That would have been rad as hell, all right? That would have been fucking rad. And, of course, it's like the X-Files. It's not even hard. They're given these decisions where, like, we can have these two, we can have this amazing villain, and he can be interesting and sympathetic and, like, chaotic and cryptic and be amazing, or we can go with this creep, the Smoking Man, who's not interesting at all. And the X-Files are, like, really like, oh, we'll just take the worst choice. Like, they always do that. Like, the X-Files literally sees all the potential laid out before it, and they literally take the worst option. Like, that's a great summary of the X-Files. Back to Krycek, we don't really know why he goes to the dark side. We don't know why he starts to work for Smoking Man. We don't know why he has this weird fixation on Mulder. And the best explanation, and I say this without a shred of sarcasm, is he has a thing for Mulder. He's in love with Mulder. You don't believe me? Watch the X-Files, and you tell me there is not as much sexual tension between Alex Krycek and Mulder as between Mulder and Scully. Absolutely there is. And it makes it a fucking fun watch to just say, like, Krycek's doing these things because he loves Mulder. And because he was spurned by Mulder. That is the most fun. Am I correct? I don't know. The evidence is there that Krycek has a thing for him, but holy shit, is it ever fun to do it that way? So, back to the Speedo scene. Krycek comes on the scene. He sees Mulder in the Speedo, and he does this little thing with his hands where he, like, excitedly taps upon the railing surrounding the pool. He's so excited. He's like, oh my god, he's in a Speedo. I'm gonna get to see him in the Speedo. Definitely Krycek channeling all of us. Mulder comes out of the pool. He dries his hair. Krycek does this little, he looks like a penguin where he like flaps his arms out to the side. He's just so fucking excited. Don't know why Krycek didn't just call Mulder or give him a heads up on his cell phone. He has a cell phone. He just came down to the pool because he wanted to oogle his hot, spooky alien boyfriend. So, the Speedo. There's nothing left to the imagination. It's all there. We all see it. This is one of the scenes in the X-Files where my entire family cheers. When Mulder gets out of the pool, we're like, yes, the Speedo. Like, if you came upon our house, you would think we're like watching a football game or something. That's how it sounds. So, Krycek's like, hey, baby, they have a hostage situation and they want you to be a part of it. Mulder channels me very well when he says, they want me? And I'm like, they want Mulder? So, if there was a hostage situation that called for a lot of nuance and subtlety and a cool head and like a really calm demeanor, who would you contact in the Bureau? I know who I wouldn't contact, and that's fucking Fox Mulder. So many times when Mulder is in the hostage negotiation, he is just egging Duane Barry on. And of course, all the people that are being held hostage are like, this guy's gonna fucking kill us because this maniac's pushing him over the edge. The podcast Fox Mulder is a Maniac, not a sponsor, but go listen. They're so good. They said sending Mulder in to confront Duane Barry is like sending in a raccoon to defuse another raccoon. And I said, that is the best metaphor I've ever heard. So Mulder goes and meets CCH Pounder. CCH Pounder, my beloved. God, I had such a crush on her when I was little. She's fire. She's so fine. He goes and meets CCH Pounder, who plays a character named Agent Lucy Kazan. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. And she's like, this guy, Duane Barry, escaped, and he went to a travel agency to get directions because he claims he's being called by aliens. That is unintentionally hilarious. Again, Mr. Chris Carter writing the most hilarious shit and not meaning to. An X-Files trope we all know and love. So, of course, Mulder is saying, like, I need to know more about this guy. Like, Mulder wants to take him seriously. The other people aren't. The other agents aren't, of course. Mulder throws a tantrum in the middle of a hostage situation, which is just so in character for Mulder. Like, Mulder can't put aside his self-centeredness for even a hot second, can he? So, he tells CCH Pounder having this little hissy fit. He's like, nobody believes alien abductees. And like, yeah, that's true, Mulder, but maybe this isn't the time. Like, lives are at stake, man. Maybe it isn't time to get on your little philosophical high horse. So Mulder begins talking to Duane Barry, and he starts to get through to him when he begins empathizing with him. Oh, no, please don't do that. You're scratching me. Please stop. And that's really good. How he empathizes with Duane Barry. And it eventually brings him around. And that's sweet and good. And I like that. But what isn't good is Mulder immediately believes Duane Barry and his stories of alien abduction, which is pretty fantastic. I think it's safe to say that these little men are like coming and getting him out of his bed at night and like taking him away on their spaceship. But Mulder, throughout the series, will not believe women when they say they have been sexually assaulted. And that is literally something that happens to thousands of people every day. So, like, I want to, like, say, like, oh, this is so sweet and good, and I love this, that Mulder's believing this man, and, like, respecting his journey, but then he will not believe these women who have been sexually assaulted. And I'd even take it a step further to say that, like in an episode like The Red and the Black, when Scully's saying, like, I'm having these memories of my abduction, Mulder dismisses them. Like, he immediately dismisses them. That's pretty gross. Like, and it's like, I want to enjoy this side of Mulder where, like, he's supporting Duane Barry and listening to him and, like, giving him agency. And I can't. And here's another thing. Okay, Steve Railsback plays Duane Barry God. Like, it's so good. He makes him sympathetic and terrifying at the same time. And as someone who lived with a person with these kinds of mental issues for about 11 to 12 years, I cannot tell you how my stomach tightens when Duane Barry, like, his speech goes all soft and almost kind of gentle and friendly, because you know what's about to drop. That is very well portrayed by Steve Railsback. However, Duane Barry is given more time and agency and space to process his trauma in these 2 episodes than Dana Scully was given to process her trauma in the entire 11 seasons, 278 episodes of The X-Files. Yeah. So, this show hates women, and it hates one woman in particular, and that's Dana Scully. So, there's a bright flash of light. The aliens have hit the travel agency, which doesn't make much sense, and I'll explain why later. So, Duane Barry just starts shooting at the darkness. The power goes out, and he shoots one of the employees at the travel agency. The 2 women in the travel agency are amazing, the way they fucking hold it together. The one woman, the older woman, is just, this man could kill her in a second, and he very much could. He's unstable. And she is saying, like, fuck you, you know, that you're doing this to us. I love her. She's great. Like, these side characters are wonderful. So, they're gonna send Mulder in dressed as a paramedic. More on that in a minute. The way they gear him up and, like, put the sound equipment on him is very reminiscent to the episode Pusher, where they're, like, gearing up Mulder to go and face this unstable person. And of course, Scully's talking to him on a little headset and that also. Mulder gets in there with an agent, Janus. And I love how they like introduce Janus like, oh, this is Agent Janus. We're so clever. You know, Janus is the god of doorways. And I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, real clever, guys. Love the guy who plays Agent Janus. God, the people who play the side characters in this episode are good. They're great in every episode, but this one's very nice. They get in there. Mulder doesn't even stick with the bit. He doesn't even pretend to be a paramedic. Which I think is hilarious. Like, you guys didn't have to dress him up this way. Like, you could have just sent him in there. He's not going to commit to being a paramedic. And he begins talking to Duane Barry. He's like, please let these people go. They're of no consequence to you. And Agent Janus is like, we have to get this man to a hospital or he's going to die. And Duane Barry trades the victim for Mulder. CCH Pounder is very pissed off. And Scully, baby, calls. At this point in the episode, Scully is watching TV and she turns around. And my daughter was like, finally, Scully's here. Like, why have we been digging around with these people without Scully? So, Scully calls. Krycek gets on the phone with her. I love how he says, she's like, who is this? And he's like, this is Agent Krycek. And she gets this look on her face and she's like, where's Mulder? And I love it. It's so coded. Her reaction to Krycek is very much, I know you're running around with my boyfriend, you fucking homewrecker. So good. She asks Krycek what's going on, and he's like, Mulder has traded himself for one of the hostages, and he doesn't even get it out of his mouth when Scully is in the car driving to goddamn Virginia. So Scully gets there, and Krycek, she's yelling. She's like, I need to talk to Mulder. Krycek comes over there. He's like, calm down, Scully. And she says, don't tell me to calm down. And at this point, my spouse said, oh, Krycek, never tell a woman to calm down. That is just a bad idea, bro. So a woman knows what she's talking about. Do not tell her to calm down, bro. So, Scully, is on the headset talking to Mulder. She tells CCH Pounder. I love the way CCH Pounder walks up and she's like, what's the problem here? Scully turns to her and the relief on her face is like, oh, thank God another woman's here that will know what to do. Like, thank God we can figure this out. Another woman is here. So, all I want is Lucy Kazan and Dana Scully running around kicking ass and being awesome. I'd watch a whole series on that, not just one episode. Those two vixens are fire. They deserve to be together. So Scully gets on the headset. She tells Mulder that what happened to Duane Barry, he had an accident. He worked for the FBI. He had an accident. And he was wounded in the brain in a way that made him a pathological liar. She also references this case back in the 1800s of a man named Gage. And I remember watching the History Channel with my daughter a few weeks back, and that came on the History Channel about this man named Gage. And I was very much Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV. I was like, hey, I know that guy. So I saw that on the X-Files. So this is interesting. Throughout the episode, you see Duane Barry, and he will see things like, there's a scene where the paramedics are wheeling him out of the travel agency and they very much look like aliens. Or he'll see government spooks looking in the windows and he thinks it's aliens. Or he sees something and he thinks it's government goons. And that's a great metaphor for the X-Files, the series itself. Like, we're never going to be given substantial evidence on whether any supernatural shit happens. The show's just not going to do that. Like, it's always going to be up in the air. So take that, people who say Mulder's always right. He's not always right. He's not even right 10% of the time, because the show is always saying, like, well, did it happen? We don't know, you know? So, my cat is very beautiful. She's just spread out on my lap. She's such a baby. So, she also is a stinky girl. She's a very stinky girl. So, Mulder starts talking to Duane Barry, and he's asking him, like, what happens. And it's really sad. He's, like, telling him about Samantha, his sister. And he says to Duane, he's like, are they hurting these little girls that they abduct? And he's like, oh yeah, they hurt them. And just the casualness he speaks of that is so sad. Again, why couldn't we give Scully this kind of space to, like, process her trauma? Like, but Duane Barry gets it. So, you know, fuck me. So, Mulder tells Duane Barry, he's like, let the others go and take me aboard the spacecraft. And at this point, I looked at the TV and I thought of the last scene in season 7 in Requiem, where Mulder is in his little pain chair on the alien spacecraft, and I'm like, are you sure you want that, Mulder? What is it? Cue John Cena meme. Are you sure about that? So, Mulder does not have a fun staycation with the aliens. So, he eventually convinces Duane Barry to let the women go after pushing him to the edge by egging him on, and very much almost to the point where he kills everyone. So, Mulder does that a lot with people who are struggling with mental issues, where they get so worked up and he just keeps egging them on. And that pisses me the fuck off. It is so ableist, and I hate it. He does it in Elegy, he does it in Roland, and I fucking hate it. So, it's... Mulder's... yeah, anyway. So, Duane Barry lets the two women go. One woman stops and says, like, I just want to say I believe you. And I'm like, bitch, get out of there. That is going to push him over the edge. Just leave. Like, seriously, that woman was tempting fate. They get out, and then, we never see what happens to, the psychiatrist Hackey. I guess he gets out when they shoot Duane Barry. So they're going to get Duane Barry. They're going to shoot him and disable him. And so to rescue the psychiatrist and Mulder. But Mulder, very much like Indiana Jones, who has to know what's in the box. He has to know what's in the box of Duane Barry's head and put everyone in more danger. He calls Duane Barry to him and says, are you making any of this up? And at this point, I just scream at the television, God damn it, Mulder. Like, you had this guy, man. You could have resolved this situation in the cleanest way possible. And you really chose that, man. Like, and again, it shows just how little Mulder cares about people. Like, the quest is everything to him. Like, he could care less how many people get hurt or die if he accomplishes his quest. Like, that, it's really a great example of that. He calls him, Duane Barry, of course, flips the fuck out, starts screaming at him. And then Mulder tells him to go back and lock the door, and the sniper gets him. So, they're loading him into the ambulance, and Scully tells Mulder, like, you did the right thing, Mulder. And I'm like, really? Did he, Scully? I don't think he did. I think this could have been handled in a much better way, probably by another person. So then Scully tells Mulder, sometimes when you want to believe something so badly, you end up looking too hard. And I'm like, God damn, Dana Scully's got your number, Mulder. Like, yeah, she's got his number. So then CCH Pounder calls Mulder to the hospital where they're keeping Duane Barry. They were able to keep him alive. And she tells him, like, yeah, those implants were in his body exactly where he said they would be. They took one out of his abdomen, and he takes it to Scully. A very cute scenes of Jillian, obviously 8 months pregnant. Like, the show just can't really hide it anymore. Her face is God tier baby Scully. She's at the height of her adorability. It's round and beautiful and freckly. And her hair is like, a lot of people hate on this hairstyle, but I love it. Like, she's got the curls at the end, the little half bangs. It's just good. And she tells Mulder, she says, like, she's looking at the implant. She's like, we'll run it by ballistics and we'll clear this up in a second. And that is such sad foreshadowing of, like, what's about to happen to Scully, about how her life is gonna just be over. It's really sad. So she takes it to ballistics. The ballistics guy is like, hey, this looks like a code or something, the way this implant has been tooled. And then Scully takes it to a supermarket, one of the best scenes in the whole show, and she puts it through the little on Bluey they call it a dooter, where they like put the thing on the checkout lane and it goes doot doot doot. She puts the implant on it and it fucks up the checkout lane. The woman who's checking her out is freaking out. She's like, did you touch anything? Never fails to piss me off. Like, you know, this woman is probably like a small business owner. And this is going to cost her so much to replace this checkout lane. I'm like, Scully, why didn't you just go to like a big box grocery store? Why did you have to pick on this poor entrepreneur woman? So anyway, Scully dips. She's like, oh, I don't know. And she's off, like, with her pickles and ice cream. So, Scully calls Mulder and says, like, this is some fucked up shit. She says, somebody's trying to catalog Duane Barry with this implant. And then Mulder answers, it goes to his answering machine, and the last thing he hears is Duane Barry breaking into her apartment and taking her. And that triggers all of my anxiety. Yeah, fuck me. So it's the most terrifying scene where she looks through the blinds and he's just staring at her. And that's a very relatable fear. Like, I don't know one woman who doesn't have that fear of someone looking in on you at night. Also, Scully took the implant and scanned it at the supermarket. Why didn't the aliens do a mob hit on the supermarket? So then we open up on Ascension. Mulder, of course, gets the voice message. Scully is crawling across the floor and Duane Barry's grabbing her. And then behind the scenes of this episode, they were pushing an 8-month pregnant Jillian across the floor. So, you know, when Jillian has beef with the X-Files people, particularly Chris Carter, and the fan was like bitching about it, like, oh, this is why we can't have more X-Files, because Jillian doesn't want to do it. I'm like, they deserve every bit of that shit from Jillian. Okay, the way they treated her, not only during her pregnancy, but like not paying her as much as Duchovny, or even though she was a vastly better actor, just making her like commute back and forth to see her daughter, even though they dropped everything and moved to LA so Duchovny could be near his family. I'm like, you know what? I don't blame Jillian one bit. What is the meme from Arrested Development? Jessica, and she says, good for her. Like, that's how I feel about Jillian. I'm like, she's like, I don't want to do any more X-Files, and I'm like, good for her. Good for her. So, Mulder gets to Scully's apartment, and she's gone. There's her blood's everywhere. You get this terrifying montage of her being abducted. And then you see Maggie Scully. Oh my god. Maggie Scully comes in. She's fighting the police officer. She's like, I have to get in there and see my baby. This is the Maggie Scully appreciation vlog. Maggie Scully, you will see her time and again, just like standing up to people and telling off people who have authority. And she's like, I have to be near my babies. I have to see my babies. She's the best TV mom. I love her so much. Maggie is just, God, she's so good. She's talking to Mulder, and she says, I had a dream that someone took Dana away. And she's like, but you know, she doesn't believe in that kind of thing. And I'm wondering, Mulder, who's supposedly the expert on all things supernatural and spooky, how did he never put together that all three of the Scully women are psychic? Like, how did he never put that together? So they, we finally get to see Skinner. Yay, our dad. I did not realize on my other viewings of this episode just how goddamn erotic Mr. Skinner is in this episode. I don't know what it is Mitch Pileggi is doing, but he is fire. I put out a tweet this morning that said, if you watch this episode out of context, the conversations between Mr. Skinner and Mulder seem like a BDSM tryst. Like, there's a scene where he's like, tells Mulder, his delivery is so fucking erotic. He's like, you directly disobeyed an order. And Mulder's like, I know I did. I was like, oh my god, guys, get a fucking room. And then there's a scene where he's like nose to nose with Mulder, and Krycek's between them, and I'm like, MLM, man, that's all I gotta say. Another scene where Skinner's kind of growling at Mulder. He's like, do you want to stand by this? And he's like, yes, sir. Like, is this a porno? Like, what is this? So Skinner tells Mulder, like, you're too close to this and you need to leave. And I'm like, yes, it's very much so. Mulder does not need to be involved in this. Like, the scene where he chokes out Duane Barry and probably causes his death. Like, I really believe Mulder had manslaughter on Duane Barry. Like, someone should have been, like, saying, like, you need to go. You don't need to be near this man. Yeah, like that. Good call, Skinner. He doesn't need to be involved here. So, of course, Mulder does not do that. Again, like in Paper Hearts, like, it's easy to blame Mr. Skinner for this. But you know what? Mulder's a grown-ass man, and he should have known better. So, he's like, a cop pulls over Duane Barry, who's driving up the Blue Ridge Parkway. And this is the part in the episode where I look and I'm like, oh, hey, I've been there. So the song's playing by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And there's something about the pacing of this scene with Nick Cave playing in the back. It's so good. Like, it almost seems like one of those YouTube PMVs. Like, it's the pacing and the editing is so good in that scene with the song by Nick Cave in the back. The state trooper pulls over Duane Barry. Again, we get a wonderful delivery from Steve Railsback where he makes Duane Barry sound so sympathetic. Like, just some of his lines he delivers where he tells the state trooper, he's like, please, for your own good, don't stop Duane Barry. Of course, the state trooper's like, again, this guy, like, what a great actor. He's so bemused and scared, and he pulls his gun, and that's when Duane shoots him. Duane opens up the trunk, and it's caught on the state trooper's dash cam. Mulder sees it. He enlarges the photo, and wouldn't you know it, it's Scully. You see Mulder staring at her picture while listening to the recording of Duane Barry. But yes, Mulder and Scully were just platonic at this phase in their relationship, weren't they? SpongeBob SquarePants rainbow meme, platonic. So Krycek comes up and he's like, coffee? And it's very much, I know you're hung up on your ex-girlfriend, but I'm here now, baby. Everyone talks about the incredibly boring and unnecessary love triangle between Diana Fowley, Mulder, and Scully. No one talks about the love triangle between Mulder, Scully, and Krycek. And I want to change that, okay? It is far more interesting and has far more sexual tension than anything the Diana Fowley triangle would have given us. So, Mulder is not interested in make-out times with Krycek because he's sad, scruffy boy. This is peak skinny, scruffy boy Mulder. In this episode, 3 and 1 breath are like peak scruffy, sad, skinny boy Mulder who's not eating or sleeping. He tells Krycek like Duane Barry's car was found on the Blue Ridge Parkway headed, and then Mulder just makes that leap in deduction that he's going to Skyline Mountain. And again, this is a great example of the show just giving Mulder the answers, where he doesn't have to work or figure out anything. It's just like the show's like, okay, we'll just give him that answer. Yeah. And he just knows it. And that's why people say, like, Mulder's right all the time. The show's just handing him this. It's spoon-feeding him this. So, they're driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway. Mulder starts going to sleep. And hey, it's the truck from Pusher, the cerulean blue one. The truck even makes a cameo in this episode. It almost runs into Mulder. Krycek wakes him up. Krycek starts telling him these statistics, and Mulder says of people like falling asleep at the wheel. And Mulder's like, are there any statistics on how many people are put to sleep listening to these statistics? And I'm like, okay, Mr. Carter, that's a pretty fucking good joke. I'll give you that, buddy. That's a good joke. That was pretty funny. So, they get to Skyline Mountain and they meet the tram operator. This same actor played the guy in Unrequited, the Vietnam veteran who was offing generals, and also the trucker in EB. He's been in a fuck ton of episodes too. Shout out to, I think her name is Emily on Twitter. And she's the one who caught that he was the trucker on EB. Hey, thanks, Emily. Appreciate that. So, this tram operator, he's having a fucking day, man. Like, he's like, yes, the place is closed for, the place is closed for, summer, and I'm gonna have a nice break. I only have to, I'm only the groundskeeper. I have to take care of these. This is gonna be a nice, vacation for me. And then these two fucking fools show up and almost kill him. So he tells them, I'm not letting you up on that tram. We're having maintenance done on it. Mulder pulls the gun on the poor man and pretty much just holds him hostage. Mulder chokes out a man. He's responsible for manslaughter in this episode. He threatens a tram operator. how is Mulder not in prison at the end of this episode? So, the tram operator's like, well, I guess I don't have a choice. So, he lets him get on the tram. Mulder goes up the tram. Of course, the scene everyone remembers is when he gets on the top because it stops in the middle because Krycek knocks out the tram operator. I love the scene where Krycek knocks out the tram operator and then, like, smooths his hair back. And what he's really doing is telling Mulder, like, ha, I'm gonna show you for running around on me with that cute redhead. But actually, Krycek's working for Smoking Man. Why? The show never tells us. Fuck me. So, he knocks out the tram operator. The tram stops halfway up. We get that very iconic scene of Mulder trying to get on top of the tram for some fucking reason. And then the tram starts back up and he's shooketh almost to his death. There's a great place we go to called Ober-Gatlinburg in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And you can get on the SkyTram and go to the top of a mountain and, like, see bears and stuff. That's what it reminded me of. And you can see the lights in the little valley, the lights of Gatlinburg. My daughter always says when we watch this episode, she's like, oh, they're in Gatlinburg. And I'm like, no, not really. They're actually in Vancouver. But yeah, good catch, honey. So why does Mulder get on top of the tram to, like, start it? I don't understand it. Anyway, then Krycek starts the tram back up just so he won't have enough time to rescue Scully. He gets to the top of the mountain. There's something about Duane Barry's car. It's still running and the radio's still going and all the doors are open. That just makes it so much scarier than if Mulder had just come across this dark and empty car. I think it's just because the people on the radio are so casual and, like, just kind of, like, reporting the daily news. And then this terrible thing is happening, unbeknownst to anyone but Mulder and Scully and Duane Barry. And I think that's what makes it so scary. Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. Mulder, of course, goes in the trunk and he finds Scully's cross necklace. She left it there because she was telling him she would come back. And at this point, I am just in tears. So, here's Duane Barry shouting at the sky. I love the way he, like, tells Duane Barry to put his hands up. And Duane Barry's, like, ignoring him. He's so happy that he traded Scully for himself with the aliens. He grabs Duane and you see a light in the sky and, like, oh no, you think it's going to be aliens? It's just a helicopter. Again, a great metaphor for the rest of this fucking show. Like, we're never going to know for sure if it's a supernatural shit or if it's just something that can be logically explained. That's just the way the show is. It's never going to give us substantial proof one way or the other. Then he has Duane Barry in the little, like, cafe area of Skyland Mountain, and he just starts choking him out. Again, someone should have been watching Mulder and, like, saying, you do not need to be around this man. Like, in the, as close as you are to this and your partner being abducted, you do not need to be near this man. They shouldn't have brought Mulder on any of this in the first place. Like, he was not fit to do this. So then he's choking him out, and Duane Barry dies. Mulder, manslaughter. So then Mulder gets back in his car. He sees cigarette butts, and he's like, how does he make this leap in logic? Again, the show giving him all the answers. He's saying Krycek's with Smoking Man. That's a hell of a leap in logic, right? Again, it's a great example of just the show giving him the answers. He goes to Skinner, and he's like, they're working together. Again, Skinner being very erotic. I gotta wrap this up. It's raining, and I can't be out here. Mulder goes to see Maggie Scully. He gives Maggie Scully's cross, and Scully presses it into his hand and says, you give it to her when you find her. A lot of people talk about, like, this bond between Mulder and Maggie, which I've never seen. Maggie Scully has every right to hate Mulder, putting her daughter through all these situations. I take this scene as Maggie Scully telling Mulder, like, you better find my daughter, motherfucker, or you will answer to me. And then at the end, you see Mulder gazing up at the sky. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. That's what I always say. And that is Duane Barry and Ascension. Our second two-parter. We did it. I love you guys. Follow me. I am at raccoons_dead on Twitter. I am at Just Awful X-Men Art on Tumblr. I am at Dead Raccoons on DeviantArt. And of course, I am here on YouTube. I'm also at Dead Raccoons Draws It on Instagram. Follow me. Let me know what underrated X-Files episode you want me to talk about. I will see you later. Mwah! Watch out for aliens.